What?
Very good. We're gonna go ahead and call, the meeting to order. This is a meeting of the City of Laredo Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Number 1. We're meeting on today, Tuesday, June 11th at 2:30 at the Community Development Office on the 3rd floor of what the building is called, Transit. Very good. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is a call to order, and we're calling the meeting to order. Second item on the agenda is roll call.
Roll call, Patricia Goldberg.
Here.
Arturo Garcia, present. Jose F. Castillo.
Present.
Ms. Vanessa Guerra is no longer the planning and zoning director. It's Mr. James Kirby Snyder. I reached out to him. I'm not sure if he's gonna be able to make it today. Henry Savigny.
Here.
Ben Puig.
Here.
And Carol Alexander. She's on her way, but she's not present.
Thank you very much.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Item number 3, minutes for the meeting of May 14th. These were mailed to us, emailed to us, and if you would please just take another second to look them over and see if you have any corrections, additions, or deletions.
I have a question.
Yes.
On this paragraph, where it says Regina Portillo, a consultant on the RFQ for public engagement, noted the significant gap between tourist plan and the actual construction of a new building. What were we talking about?
I read that last night.
It said Mr. Savigny recommended meeting with the vendor to confirm intentions.
What page are we on?
It's the second page.
The second page?
I don't remember
Second.
that.
Right. I remember she introduced herself as a consultant on the RFQ, and I remember she had said that there is a significant gap or differentiation between a plan and the actual construction of a new building. She was saying that, I think she was saying that the TERS plan does not consider all the actual steps in constructing a new building.
Right, and it doesn't. And I think we addressed, okay, so.
Do you remember that?
I
As long as
I don't recall that part there, but I do think we covered it when we met with the company that submitted the RFQ.
Okay.
So we clarified that point, where we clarified that yes, the TERS plan isn't a construction.
Okay, I thought this was like someone actually trying to build a building that I didn't know about. Okay,
Yeah.
I think it's conceptual.
Okay.
But if you don't like that, I can remove it.
Or reword it. Do you think it's a
Well, were you kinda asking yourself the same question?
When I read it last night, I was reading the
Were
minutes
you at
last
the
night.
meeting?
No, but I was reading on the
Oh.
minutes last night from the email, and I was like, what?
What it all entailed from was basically my initial question regarding the first task listing that they had in their proposal, which mentioned planning for projects. And I just wanted to make it very clear that we weren't, that we had already a project in mind, and that we wanted better information on that project, plus future maybe consideration for other projects that might be deemed necessary, but that there was one priority project already on the table. We didn't need to go back and re-plan for that. And I think she was trying to clarify.
I guess it's
that,
just they use the word building,
Right.
which kind of throws the whole conversation off.
So how about if we change that and the actual construction of a project?
Project, right.
Yeah.
And I think that would cover it, right?
Right.
I move that we accept the change as recommended by the chairman.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second? There's a first and a second, all those in favor say aye. That portion of the minutes will be amended as stated. Any other
Motion.
comments?
Oh, everybody got, that's a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Somebody else got it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries, minutes are presented as corrected. Did I say that correctly? Okay. Next item on the agenda, item 4, citizen comments. Citizen, I'll still read it out. Citizens are required to fill out a witness card and submit it to the chairperson or designee no later than 2:45 and identify themselves at the microphone. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. No more than 3 persons will be allowed to speak on any side of an issue. Should there be more than 3 people who wish to speak on a particular issue, they need to select not more than 3 representatives to speak for them, and presiding officer may limit the public comments further in the interest of an orderly meeting. Speakers may not pass their minutes to any other speaker. Comments should be relevant to the city business and delivered in a professional manner. No derogatory remarks will be permitted. Next item on the agenda is item 5, status report on the negotiations with Able City, the sole proposal consultant for the RFQ. And so I think I will let this be a conversation more than a report, so that both Ben and Arturo can chime in as necessary. We met on, what day did we meet on? I'm sorry that I have that here. Ben, while you're looking at in your file for that, right? So we met with Able City to discuss their proposal, and they had some very good questions. What they hear us saying versus what we may intend to be said need to be narrowed. So, we want them to do quite a bit in terms of being liaison with the city for project development. What does that mean? In our mind, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but what I thought we meant here, and this is what we conveyed to the company, was that.
Let the record show, Mr. Chairman, that Mr. Alexander is present now.
No problem. As a matter of fact, Carol, what we're doing right now at this point, you came in at the right time. We kind of slowed it down a little bit, and you came in at the right time, because now we're discussing the meeting with Able City. And just talking.
May 30th.
On May 30th, excuse me. On May 30th, and this, wanted to just give you an idea of what the discussion was about. Yeah, that's right, May 30th. So, at the meeting, we started to discuss exactly what we're talking about, and the general idea here was that the group is gonna be acting as, let me take a step back. Let's talk about how it would be if monies were spent to hire an individual, whether they work for the city. At one point, we're thinking of a city employee. But we acknowledge the fact that time gets taken from a city employee for various projects, understandably, because they work on various projects, various things. So here the focus is that the money would be focused on an individual here, a consultant, a company that would serve as a liaison for bringing together the projects that we are talking about and that we're planning, that we've been visiting with about the street developments, the streetscape, et cetera, et cetera. And this person would serve as a liaison between the city and then also letting out the contract that would do the design work and then the construction of the project itself as approved by the board and the council, I guess at some point, because we have to take it up to the council. This company would be in charge of making sure we're coordinating with the appropriate city departments, that those departments are coordinating with the builders and the people who are working on the project, whether it be in the design phase or the construction phase. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, Arturo, you asked this company to also be responsible for coordinating these meetings?
Assistant coordinating.
Like assistant coordinating, very good. Assistant coordinating these meetings, put them together. I think initially it almost sounded to them a little bit overwhelming because they started asking a lot of questions. And I shouldn't say it sounded to them overwhelming. It may have been overwhelming just based on what we were describing. So I don't want to characterize it. But there were a lot of questions, and the questions were, are we putting together the budget? Are we handling the budget for the TERS? Are we supposed to be making sure taxes come in and taxes are just, and how much of the taxes are captured, which is not our function, that's the city's finance department's function. I clarified that in terms of budgeting, we're specifically related to the projects at hand that we're talking and approving. Don't worry about money coming in for the TERS, that's the job, the task of the city to make sure the money's coming in. And anyway, we couldn't do anything about it if we saw something different, because we're not the tax collecting entity or the tax counting, entity. They had questions about how detailed work, and I think that's something, I don't know that we clarified to the T, but, this is where there were questions, how much detail is involved in this, and they're thinking about how much time this is going to take them to do their job. I'm gonna pass the baton over to Ben, so you can pick up,
What I thought of it?
adding on to the different parts, yes, exactly.
Yeah, I guess it was also making sure that, from, their proposal where it says they're gonna, we just wanted to make sure that they're not coming up with another whole other plan. It's just,
We're following the plan we've
we're
already
following
been
the
given.
plan we've
Yeah.
already been given, that's already been approved by council, that already has priorities. It was just more of kind of describing to them, okay, this is a plan we have, we wanna make sure it jives with, the comprehensive plan of Viva Laredo, and to make sure we're doing everything in logical steps along the way. And, that's one of the main things I took out of it, and I was actually, and I haven't done it yet, I just reminded them, I was gonna give them information, surveying information, so they can start building the base and the model downtown, to make sure that we have the background information, so when we do wanna pull a trigger, we already have some of the form work already done.
Who's actually gonna do the work, and who's gonna select who does it?
So that was, I was kind of, I misunderstood. So they have a whole team, like their whole team that's on the, which is Able City, and under Able City, they had Sherfy, Sue Darcy,
Right, as
they had a
subs.
Geotech, they had a bunch of subs. So one of the questions I had was, they would be the coordinator, they wouldn't be the ones necessarily doing the work. They would take our project that we identify, what we want them to do, and they would go out to,
Sub it to those people.
no, not to those people, they would sub it to whoever bids on the project.
Because none of those people are contractors.
Oh, right,
That's right, that's right, they're all, yeah, so
Or
people that
contractors.
actually do the work.
So, the way I understood it, if there's a project that we go out and it needs engineering work, they would go out and coordinate getting an engineer, not necessarily using the engineer that they have on their team, but they would go get another engineer, if it's MEP related or structural or geotechnical related, even though they have these individuals on their team.
It's to supervise,
Right.
not to do.
And who makes the selection of the contractor, the one actually doing the work? Do they,
They
under their
co-
recommendation?
They coordinate it and we select.
And we
It's
select,
the
okay.
board's always the decision maker, but they have to coordinate it. So let's say they let out a bid for whatever, a street related project. They'll get the bids, they'll submit them. They may have a tally sheet, a recommendation based on
on
criteria,
Right, right.
or-
but the selection is ours.
The way I figured it was kind of like the same situation that we did when we went out for an RFQ to get a
Mhm.
consultant, but they would be
They'll be
going,
doing the work
they would be
and
doing
bringing
that
it to us when it's
for the
done.
projects.
When it's ready just to choose.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
So, because I know we've had this concern, that and the city, and I know the city gets paid for doing that accounting and all that.
Pluto already confirmed with us that the city has not received any funding from the TERS to date.
Right, I missed out on the question, let me throw it to you.
Well, because I just was clarifying, really, because, it's a two-part clarification, and I wanted a confirmation. The city is supposed to get some kind of revenue from the TERS as well for the administration component. At whatever level of administration, like, connected to the financing.
If I may interrupt,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce Mr. James Kirby Snyder, he's the new planning director for the city of Laredo. This is the board, I don't know.
Welcome to the board. I understand you just came on board. We read about you in the paper and we're happy that you're on board.
Thank you.
Yeah, the background and the article gave us all another hopeful note on someone who is anxious and eager about downtown development. So, Thank you, and, you're obviously gonna hit the ground running, so, or if you haven't already, you will be hitting the ground running.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I could use any encouragement, advice, or counsel that you all have, you wanna share with me, I'd be more than happy to sit down anytime, go to lunch, hear what you have to think.
This is a kind of shy group, so you're gonna have to just get it out of us the hard way, but, yeah, sure.
Alright, forget lunch, I'm coming over to your
Yeah.
house at 3 AM.
So,
But I just wanted to say, I might have to leave early, cause I have another meeting in the future for these TERS meetings. I didn't schedule the meetings today, they were scheduled for me.
right,
I'll make sure I'm here for the full time, but.
not a problem,
But today I'm gonna have to leave early.
we totally
But
get it.
No
Not a
problem.
We got quorum.
And we'll brief you, we'll catch you up.
So usually we're kind of fighting for quorum, so.
So,
Sorry, Carol, go ahead.
That's okay. Welcome.
Thanks.
So I was just making a clarification about that the city's doing the money end, I mean, they're doing that accounting and all,
Administrative end.
administrative of the monies, but that they're supposed to be getting,
Pay for that,
Pay for that.
50,000, I think it was on the budget, right?
Okay, so I
Maybe.
quickly got the project finance plan, so we're on the same sheet of music, this is what was approved. So yes, the city will be getting 5%, and I think this is what we have to start getting that piece of it together, especially since we're going through our budget process. When we went through the negotiation piece, like Henry said, it was to assist. In other words, there's gotta be some coordination, not necessarily that
yeah,
they're gonna do all the work. We just need them to understand that they need to work with the city in getting information, because it's a twofold. They're gonna be having all the information and setting up
so
these
they're only
meetings
the
and everything else.
coordinators, is
They're-
what that
they're-
Able City is.
no, it's more than a meeting coordinator.
No, not a
No,
meeting
no, no,
coordinator.
no, just coordination of the whole effort.
Yes,
Right.
yes, yes, yes.
Coordination
yes,
of the
yes,
whole
yes.
effort. So-
Basically of this, of the plan.
Right, so because the board can't do it, and the city can't do it, so they would be that
Well-
entity.
The city could do it, but see, this is the question here we were asking, Arturo, regarding the 5%. So the city's operational administrative costs will be calculated at 5% of total annual zone revenues, otherwise directed by city council separate resolution. 5% comes out to how much?
Well, right now, whatever we have in the bank, it's whatever we can.
So it's 5% annually?
Yeah, but no, whatever.
Oh, yeah, total annual.
Yeah.
So at the end of the, whatever. end
Like
of
right
the-
now, we haven't spent anything, it's all there, so we actually have to budget out 5%, because of the resolution.
Right,
And this is a little bit of a learning curve for us too, so.
Right.
As we're going through this, I mean, we're all
So-
learning together on this.
Per year, right, so.
Like, when do we, put
so,
out?
in other words, I'm sorry, I just wanted to hone in on the
Okay.
amount, so if we have 400,000, we're talking about 20,000.
What's the current bill?
It's about 400,000.
Oops, how did I know? Yeah, it's actually, I think it's about
It's
475,
close to- yeah, close to
475,
500.
yeah. So it's gonna be about 25,000 that hasn't been collected to date.
No, it's been collected.
It's collected, the funds are accounted for in a separate fund, but we haven't charged anything as administrative fee.
Right. And I think that's an important point that's being made because, you know, we have also those fees here that are the professional service fees.
Well, the other thing too, looking at it, that the project description of table one, in essence, we don't have a convention center,
The parking facility,
yeah,
right,
or
right.
convention center and parking facility, so I think we might need to like, in terms of whenever we select or whenever we finalize negotiations with our coordinator slash consultant, we'll probably have to revisit that, with the city and figure out.
Well, another part to this, these numbers were developed by the consultant, put together the whole TERS plan for us, and they were based off of projections, lots of projections, one of them being having Laredo College in it, which they're not. Other projections were a second phase to the outlet center, which may or may not occur. There was other projections of a senior assisted living downtown in year 3 or 4, I don't remember which one. So these numbers would, I think, need to be kind of revisited to ensure that they're feasible.
Yeah.
Like right now, we're pretty much in line with our projections on the city side.
Right, but look at
Yeah,
year
but-
4 or
but-
5 where it jumps up because of kind of projected projects
The
that.
college. You know, the college too, there's
And the
no.
college too.
Yeah, so,
Well, the college was separate, was kept out, was put separately purposely in case they didn't join the church. Remember, it's their decision to opt in or out, and they were not part of the development of the process. Initially, it was presented as, this is what would happen if the college came into the church.
okay, so I don't know, we're kind of drifting away
Yes,
from the
yeah,
actual
right, we are.
thing, we're going into something else, I think we need to get back to the actual negotiation.
Yeah.
Do you have an extra copy for
I can make you one right now.
for the Able City one? Not for me, but for
What's in the packet?
Yeah.
no, is that the one that
Oh.
the one that Able City put together?
That one, we'd have to
No
get you,
response.
no, we'd have to get you a copy.
No.
That's different.
It's not for me, it's for
Herbert.
Kirby. So we can kind of get up to speed of what was submitted.
Okay, so
I
let's,
prefer electronic copies, so you can just email it to me later.
and that's how we have it. We have it electronic, that's how it's sent to us.
I don't have it.
I have it, and if the city doesn't have it, I have it and I can email it to you.
I'll take your card and
Yeah,
I'll send you an email.
we'll do that. Okay, let's go back to the topic that we were moving in, we're describing the meeting itself. And so, Ben, you were making a point there before Carol asked a question on the budget. And so, Carol, that's an administrative point that we're gonna discuss and we're gonna hammer out. But yes, in other words, the city has certain responsibilities, but then this consultant will have other
Yeah,
responsibilities.
my point that I was trying to make was, when Patty asked the question, who's gonna do the work, right? It looks like this Able City is not gonna do the work, actual construction, right? So
Right.
what
No.
they are is the facilitator, right? They're gonna actually, because none of us are gonna do it, the city can't, won't, whatever that answer is, right? They're tasked with other things, so.
Well, our piece
See,
of
like-
it is, the city's piece is coordinating and assisting in the meetings. And then there's a lot of financial
Yeah,
piece,
financial, yeah.
once we start talking about payback with bonds and everything else, so.
So that's a financial side to it,
That's it.
that's their participation.
Yeah,
Right, so
so-
it seems, this is an important key component, this.
Of the
this-
church,
This facilitator,
They're the
Yes.
ones that are gonna be
coordinator.
going out, checking, helping us get out RFQs for the actual engineering consultant for the project that we have on hand as a priority. Setting up, we discussed, setting up potential secondary and third projects or corridors, to address, because we don't have that in the plan per se, through public input, or,
Right.
what was the other things too that we discussed?
Um,
The other issues were also trying to figure out the bonding capacity so that we can know how much money's coming in and what are the projected, these secondary projects that we have in line, to see how much we can afford to do. And why go out to projects 2 and 3 if we're only gonna be affording 1, 2, or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
no, yeah,
developing all,
I think it's
the-
good.
basically developing all that information for us. And doing a little bit of the public input, but not necessarily changing what's already been directed and approved by council.
Yeah, the public input would be public coordination. So, speaking to the people who are gonna be affected along the street that's gonna be worked on, for example, so that when, construction is going on, they're involved in the process or know at least of the process, and not necessarily involved, but know of the process, so it doesn't come as a surprise one day that a sign goes up and says construction next 2 weeks, 2 months, or whatever. And that is the discussion. Is it finished? No, because we're scheduled to meet with them one more time on the 17th of June. To, again, the same committee will get together to discuss their notes that they've taken and how they see this, how they translated the meeting into a bid. And then they're gonna submit a bid.
And if any of the other board members feel that they would like to participate in the secondary meeting, I'm more than glad to take myself out, so that way we already have Ben as an
I
engineering.
can too.
Yeah, so we wanna be able to share the, I don't want you to feel left out or anything.
I don't feel left
I'm gonna be out of town, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Just wanna
but,
make sure.
but I think that's a very, thank you for offering. And so that summarizes the meeting with with Able City. You know, they, obviously they have the experience, obviously they have the know-how of the downtown area. They themselves understand that but they've eliminated themselves from bidding for any of this because they're coordinating this. But, in their mind, you know, that's important, that this move forward. They understand that, and I'm gonna say it in very general terms, so I'm not saying the specific streets or anything. In very general terms, they understand that the priority is corridor one, and corridor one is the outlets to the plaza. Okay, give and take, our walk. But they understand that's the first one. And that then we're gonna be talking about, they're thinking about, secondary streets that begin to connect the downtown grid and the downtown area to make it quote-unquote walkable, which is what the discussion has been since the beginning about the TERS.
So we had a downtown meeting because we're having some downtown meetings, general stakeholders, that's being coordinated by Laredo Main Street. And the last meeting was last week, and the topic of ADA compliance came up and so I know that's gonna be a big component of what we're doing.
Certainly. Certainly.
And we've already done the tour.
And so the downtown alliance, I guess, that they did have coordinated with Laredo Main Street. There was some of the stakeholders, the shop owners are coming to the meetings and, giving examples of what's going on, and so this one, I don't remember which street it was on, it was a north-south street, had a big hole, and it seemed to be connected to the cable company, but it was, you know, it was really a dangerous hole that someone could really injure themselves, and so, the Downtown Alliance group that's been meeting under Laredo Main Street, anyway, they got that fixed with, you know, multiple calls and with the cable company, but that's been a help. And the people that are meeting there are gonna be people that are gonna, once, if we get Able City on board and they have that,
They'll be able to coordinate for us
stakeholder,
and-
meetings, so that they're starting to already come together to communicate.
And since, obviously, I'm glad you're attending those meetings, because attending those meetings, you also become the eyes and ears for the board. Certainly, a few more of us can go, but not more than reaching quorum, we can't reach quorum. But, your being there is helpful as a liaison, and make sure we continue to be included in processes so that people are aware of it, things of that
And
nature.
they're looking forward to eventually when the TERS gets going, right, to see what kind of, you know, a lot of high hope.
There's a lot of hope for what we're gonna be doing, I understand that. There's also, as Arturo may or may not confirm, but you decide. But, I also feel, and I get at the meetings that I've been attending sometimes, that we need to be careful to explain what the TERS is gonna be working on and not working on. Because, some people not understanding the TERS are seeing it as a revenue source for, well, we have projects that we need funded, maybe we can be applying to the TERS as if we were a granting organization that provides grants for projects that the community wants.
That's actually one of the premises during our negotiations with them, that we said, you need to prioritize our project quarter one, then develop quarter 2 and 3, and based on your projections as to how much the money is, bonding capacity, then provide us input in terms of some potential housing incentive plan or portion that we could add to it. So, and also assist us in discussions with LCC to bring them on board.
That was one of the
for that.
main things
So-
we wanted, someone to
Yes.
go and reach out.
So, and that can be us too, but you know,
Yes.
once we got somebody a little bit more day to day.
Right.
Then they can they can bring LCC into it, that brings a little bit more money into the process. But we know what they have in mind, their focus is working on dormitory,
Right housing.
which is perfect for the downtown area, I mean, I'm not objecting to that, it fits along the plan.
So that's where we're at.
I think that summarizes it. Do the members that were there agree?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
And we're gonna meet again next week, to kinda like, I guess, finalize any questions that they might have on their side, and then hopefully they'll provide us some sort of proposal based off of that.
And I don't think it'll be at the meeting yet,
Yeah, no, I don't think
but
so.
yeah, but I think what they want, they needed time to digest what we just said. Because their biggest fear, which is, it's an understandable fear, is that they submit a bid for a project thinking one thing, and we said, no, you're supposed to do this and this and this too, you know, so.
And it's all really perfectly laid out, so there's no misunderstandings, yes?
That's the idea, and that's where the discussion
Could
is.
be very
Do we, so one thing we clarified, for example, on a very broad scale, is that no, you don't have to go make sure the taxes are coming in from the TERS and that the TERS is collecting the portion that belongs to the TERS. That's the city's responsibility. No, it's not your job to go hire bond counsel should we need additional funding, and we're gonna leverage the TERS funds. That's the city's job. Am I right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But they gotta give us a little bit of an estimate to see how much we
Right.
can bond out, you know, potentially, I guess. There's gotta be some initial, like, it's already in the project plan more or less.
It is, but what I'm saying is they don't do the work for that, the bonding part about, and they ask questions related to that, so in general terms, that's what we were clarifying, no, that's not something you do. But we do send out notices for the meetings, yes, that you do, you know, you do make sure that the everybody gets the notice and things of that nature, so. Any additional questions or comments? Very good. So you've heard that was the status on the negotiation with Able City. Again, encouraged, Mario Peña was there on the phone, Viviana Frank was in person, and so was,
Ricardo Solis.
Oh, Ricardo Solis. The other Ricardo. There's another Mario Peña and another Ricardo Solis.
Ricardo Solis, not the president?
No, not the president, yes,
He's an architect.
he's a principal with Able City.
Is he an architect?
Yes,
I don't know, yeah,
yes,
he is.
I don't think he's a principal, I think he's just a employee.
right. I don't know what is, but he's an architect.
You know what, we'll clear it up, it's in the packet, just so that we know.
He's just a,
They merge.
Good idea.
I think he kinda deals with stadium operations. But
I
Yeah,
know,
he
it's
might
like,
be
wait,
there.
I was super
He's
confused
a
when I was
principal.
reading
Oh,
it.
he is?
Yeah,
Okay.
but he's a AIA LED AP. He has a bachelor in architecture from the University of Texas at Austin, and he's a registered architect. And he is, what he is not is a partner,
Ándale.
he's yeah. So the partners in the organization are Mario Peña, Viviana, and Frank. And Ricardo is the fourth person, but he's not a partner, he's a principal. Okay. Very good. Any other questions related to the meeting of the status with, the negotiation with Able City? Sensing none, I'll move on to the next item on the agenda, item 6. Discussion and possible action on establishing a yearly calendar of meeting dates for the remainder of 2019.
My apologies, we should have had a little calendar with all the meeting dates, do we have that?
As of right now, we just, it's, because it was a every.
Well, my apologies to you all.
Okay.
We should have had a handout to it. The whole purpose of establishing the yearly calendar is so we can look at it as a group and look at any key dates that might be troublesome for the board to meet, or maybe tie in close to a holiday, or maybe revise the dates. But right now, we're still meeting every
Second
Second
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Every second
and then we're
Tuesday.
alternating 2:30 and 5:30. We should be meeting at City Hall still, but we had some conflicting meetings there, and due to the recording requirements, we just thought it easier for us to host it here.
So
So
we'll
these will be
probably,
the alternate sites.
we'll probably return back to the city.
Yes, correct, but we will publish the calendar, the intent of that is to have the board accepted, so that everybody's locked in. We're gonna have one person emailing, that'll be Manuel assisting me from my staff, to send out the Outlook invites once our emails are back up in order and ready to rock and roll. We'll send out the entire yearly so you can approve them all. And also, we intend to have a website posting, so if anybody wants to know what are the key dates for the next meetings, or when can a relevant meeting for the board, that way they can go online and look at them and not have to be asking.
Very good.
So, that's the intent of setting up the annual.
So then what we're gonna, what the board will be receiving from you all is a calendar for the remainder of the year, July, August, September, October, November, December, telling us the meetings, which we know is the second Tuesday of the month. But what we'll be doing is you'll tell us, the date and the time, because it alternates between 2:30 and 5:30. And for the time being, we'll assume that the remainder of the meetings will be at City Hall, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So then, is the next one gonna be on July 9th?
This is in his office.
Yes, July 9th,
July 9th at 5:30?
5:30.
So then is it safe to send a calendar invite for that one?
Another.
For the designated person to send it.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll do that, yes.
July 9th at 5:30?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's that?
I just confirmed that it was okay for Manuel?
Yeah.
To send a calendar
I
invite.
like this idea, we can?
For the
If
next
board-
one.
Well, if the board requests it, we can do that, that's not a problem.
Do what?
If you guys wanna move over here, we can, that facilitates for staff having to take everything over.
There's bicycle parking here, there's none at the city.
So, well, it's not part of the meeting agenda, but we can put it at the next meeting agenda for the board to opt to move over here. If that's what the board wants.
I have a question, and I'm saying this as someone who really does not know. Is it just as easy for the public to reach us here as it is at City Hall on the ground floor?
Well, according, it might be easier, according to the comment about.
Like, so you have the transportation, you have all the bus lines coming in, you have all the parking facilities, so you can park anywhere, we're about each parking. We host several meetings, we have third-party funding committee, I have the TERS board, I have housing committees, I have about 3 scheduled meetings already this other week for other 3 board meetings, haven't really.
And what's public participation at
All
those
of it,
meetings?
anybody can come
They
in.
have public
That's why
participation?
she's aware, she's come here before.
No, I wanted to confirm, I'm asking the question because I don't know. I mean, from a totally, logistic point of view, I stand up from my desk, I walk out the door and I walk to the City Hall. But that's me. I just wanna make sure that this is just as convenient, I don't mind driving.
It's whatever.
I see.
We can, I don't think we can vote on it.
No, we're not,
or
I just,
discuss it, but,
something to keep in mind, I just don't know the answer to
We
that.
can bring it into the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay,
I know the intent of council was to host them as much as we can in City Hall, but it starts to get a little troublesome sometimes because you have conflicting, there's a lot of committee meetings and sometimes the same use of the facilities to meet certain requirements, it makes it very difficult. And for example, some of the auxiliary committee organizations like buildings set up their conference room, we set up ours too. So that way we can facilitate and we can easily move around a little bit while
But we
still
have
remaining
to, we
accessible.
have to record our meetings?
Yes, everything's being recorded, so you can see the camera, the recording system.
Right, but is that a requirement?
Yes, it's a requirement. It's a requirement by council through the ordinance.
okay,
The
so.
ordinance requires us to be at City Hall as much as we can,
Oh,
but, it's understood that, sometimes, like today, there was a conflict, so, we get thrown into a small conference room and it gets tight, and so we have the facilities
We
here,
must
so we
be
move
here.
it over here, so it's just to facilitate the meeting a little bit better.
okay. Cool.
Very good. So then we have the meeting set for the next, we have the time, date, location for the next meeting, and then we'll discuss the details of the future calendar. There are no other items on the agenda, and so, I will, call for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Meeting ends. Thank you.